Imagine standing in the exact middle of the United States. You might expect a patriotic monument, a booming crossroads, maybe a Starbucks, or at the very least a town square buzzing with activity. But what you actually find is a lonely stone marker in a windswept Kansas field. No skyline, no crowds, just open space and silence. This is Lebanon, Kansas, the geographic center of the contiguous 48 U.S. states. And despite being the literal heart of America, almost no one lives here. Let's dig into why. Pinpointing the center. First things first, where exactly is this so-called center? We're talking latitude, 39°50 north, and longitude, 98°35 west, about 1.5 miles northwest of Lebanon, Kansas, and 12 miles south of the Nebraska border. The U.S. government officially declared this spot the geographic center of the 48 contiguous states back in 1918, after the U.S. Coast and Geodetic Survey conducted a balancing act, literally. They cut out a cardboard map of the U.S. and balanced it on a pinpoint to find its center of mass. Old school science at its finest. In 1940, a stone monument was installed, and in 1951, a small white chapel was added nearby. It's humble, it's peaceful, and it's usually empty. Despite its monumental title, the place looks more like a forgotten roadside stop than a national landmark. Lebanon, Kansas, snapshot of a shrinking town. Now let's zoom in on Lebanon itself. Population around 200, according to the 2020 census. That's down from nearly 400 in the 1950s. In fact, like many small towns across the Midwest, Lebanon has been losing population for decades. The town covers just 0.2 square miles, and if you drive through it, you might miss it entirely. It has a post office, a small grain elevator, a few houses, and a motel called, appropriately, the Center Motel. There are no stoplights, no chain stores, and forget about ordering an Uber. Lebanon represents a growing number of American towns where young people move out, businesses close, and the population ages in place. According to the USDA, over 60% of rural counties in the U.S. have lost population since the year 2000s. Why the center is so empty? So, why doesn't anyone live in the middle of the U.S.? It's not because the center is cursed or uninhabitable, but it does come down to a few key factors. 1. Geography. This part of Kansas is classic Great Plains territory. It's flat, dry, and prone to extremes, hot summers, cold winters, and strong winds year-round. While it's perfect for growing wheat or raising cattle, it's not exactly paradise for someone seeking amenities, diversity, or nightlife. 2. Economy. The town relies almost entirely on agriculture. But thanks to mechanized farming, today's operations need fewer workers to maintain larger plots of land. That means less employment, which leads to, you guessed it, less population. 3. Infrastructure. Lebanon is far from everything. The nearest large town, Salina, Kansas, is about 90 miles away. There are no nearby airports, no major highways, and no major employers. You can't build a booming town when there's nothing around to support it. 4. Migration trends. People have been leaving rural America for decades. Between 2000s and 2020, Kansas alone saw a net loss of over 165,000 rural residents. Young adults leave for college and jobs in the city, and most don't come back. Not the only center. Now here's where things get even more interesting. Lebanon is one of several places claiming to be the center of the U.S. Let's break them down. The geographic center of all 50 states, including Alaska and Hawaii, is located near Belfourche, South Dakota, another quiet spot with almost no population. The median center of population, meaning where half of all Americans live east or west, has been drifting southwest for decades. As of 2020, it's located in Wright County, Missouri. There's even a center of North America located in Rugby, North Dakota, with its own concrete monument and historical sign. None of these places are densely populated. Why? Because these centers are mathematical calculations, not economic or strategic hubs. What's there today? So what happens when you're the center of the U.S. but nothing much is going on? Well, Lebanon has embraced its quiet claim to fame. Each summer, it hosts a small celebration called Geographic Center Day, with visitors coming from across the country to see the marker, take photos, and sign the chapel guest book. The chapel, built in 1951, is still open, and people sometimes use it for weddings or roadside prayers. A Facebook page for the monument occasionally shares updates and photos, often posted by travelers making quirky bucket list stops. There's even a local movement to keep the site maintained, because while it may not be the center of attention, it still matters to those who call it home. And for road trippers, map nerds, or anyone craving a taste of small-town America, it's a quiet but meaningful stop. If you found this peek into the hidden center of the U.S. interesting, hit that like button to support the channel and subscribe for more deep dives into forgotten places, weird geography, and unusual stories across America. And hey, if you've ever been to Lebanon, Kansas, or want to go, drop us a comment. We'd love to hear your story.